But speaking of businesses going under and businesses staying around, we're going to talk through why businesses fail and how we can prevent that as business owners, and improve our future and scale our business. So I'm going to talk about the first thing that I see is that as businesses grow, so at the beginning, they're doing everything they can to grow that business. They're expanding. They're doing the hard stuff. They're gripping and they're doing whatever it takes to be successful. And what happens is they start to see success and they get to a point, I always say it's around 200 to 300,000 in revenue, where they start netting more money than they've ever made. So they get fat, right? And then you're happy where you're at, and then you stop doing that hard stuff, what took to expand your business, and you start focusing on the stuff that's a little bit more fun as a business owner. So what that equates to is you stop focusing on revenue producing activities, and you start focusing on the fun things of running a business. Well, when you do that, you see companies just hit that 300,000 mark, and then they just stalemate for a long period of time because they don't want to go back to being uncomfortable. They want to do the easy thing. So they don't go down and cold call or knock on doors or do things to produce that revenue that puts them in the uncomfortable position they were. They think that they've moved past that. Well, until you get really over 3 to 4 million in revenue, you should be 100% focusing on the revenue producing, the sales side. As the owner, you should be in the sales every single day, because I've said this before and you've said it, no one's going to care about your business as much as you as the owner. So when you're scaling that business and building it out, you need to be in the sales every single day. You need to be pushing that business every single day. And then as you build out your sales team, then you can manage your sales team, but you're not going to have a sales team till you get to 2 to 3 million in revenue. Once you have that sales team, then you're doing the fun stuff. You're managing those salesmen. You're hopping in on the big deals. But as a small business, you don't have that set up yet. So you got to be that man. You got to be that salesman in there, and you got to be pushing it every single day to punch through that glass ceiling to get to that next level in business.
And it's pretty crazy. I mean, Nate and I sit with business owners probably every single week. I mean, we sell mostly business insurance, so we're meeting with the owners. We're figuring out what they're doing. And the amount of times that we hear like they're not cold calling, they're not making sales, they're not marketing is pretty crazy. Like the fact that as a company, the only way to bring in money is to market and to make sales, and they're focusing on their mission statement or, these little things that at the end of the day, the client doesn't necessarily care about a mission statement. They want you to manage their policy. They want you to provide support and good service to them more so than your mission statement as a company. And I don't know if you want to talk about that as well, just the crazy things that we see.
I just think people get a little distracted and they feel like that they've had a little success. So they say, okay, now I got to make it look sexy. And like I said, a business is not going to look sexy and polished, and it shouldn't until you get to 2 to 3 million, because that first run up to $1 million, it's hard work. It's those relationships. It's shaking those hands, and it's, hey, people are doing business with us because it's a small boutique feel, right? You're giving them that white glove service. And then as you've built that client base, then you can transition that into more of an industry type business where, hey, we're kind of like going into Walmart instead of going into this little tiny family grocery store. Well, so many people think they have to create Walmart at 300,000 in revenue when you should be creating the family grocery store, because that's why people are interacting with you instead of the big corporations. So people think they have to basically mock the corporations when it's like, hey, your only competitive advantage is that you're a small family business, and people like to do business with people they know. They like to call us and we pick up the phone, and that's going to change when we grow our business past a certain point, and it's going to happen with every business. But don't try to do that now before you've achieved that, because that's how you can grow and continue to grow.
Another great thing when it comes to sales to think about as a business owner or a salesperson in general is, if you were in their shoes, what would you want? Like, a lot of times insurance is what we know, so that's what I'm going to talk about. But a lot of times we hear people be like, oh, the client wants an app. The client wants this, this, and this. But honestly, the client wants a cheap policy. Like, if we were in their shoes, what do we want? I don't really care about an app. I care about my service that my agent provides me and the fact that I'm not paying tons of money for it. So a great question when you're thinking about what type of sales to make is, if you were in their position, what would you want? But that's just a little tidbit as a business owner to think about when you are making sales. But another one that we see quite often, why businesses fail, is death by expenses. So they think they need to go out and buy the most expensive new piece of equipment or auto out there, a brand new vehicle, when there's great options that are a little bit older that are way cheaper. You don't need to go and be perfect when you're starting out a business or even a couple years in business. Like we mentioned before, the clients really care about service and the fact that you're there for them and do what you say you're going to do, versus all the bells and whistles of having brand new things, having a massive office that's perfect and beautiful. Honestly, the client doesn't care. Like, just be there for them. You don't need to spend an exuberant amount of money on things at the beginning. Now, as you grow, of course, you can increase that and spend things that are going to last longer and look nicer. But for the time being, as long as you can get the job done, that's what matters. So we definitely see some death by expenses of why businesses go out of business, but you don't have to do that. There are other ways.
And it's the expenses that are a large percentage of the revenue. It's okay to have a fancy state-of-the-art office when that's less than 5% of your revenue or less than 2% of your revenue. Like, yeah, because it's easy. It's a nominal expense. But when that office expense is 30 to 40% of your income, then it's like, hey, there better be a return on investment for that office. But primarily, usually there isn't. It's a want, not a need. And as you're scaling your business, you need to be purchasing needs, not wants.
Yeah.
And the needs should be producing a return on investment. And a lot of people, they want to be buying things that make them appear to be this great big entrepreneur. At the end of the day, what you need to do is you need to be building a business, and by building a business that has profits so you can reinvest back in. And a lot of that is big hat, no cattle, right? Yeah. A lot of people want a big hat, but they don't have any cattle. Make sure that you got a small hat and you got cattle. It's better to have the money, have the cash flow, than to have all these big expenses and look like you know what you're doing, but you really don't.
And it's hard. I mean, it is so hard to be disciplined at the beginning when you do start to get some money in to really think about your future and say, it doesn't make sense right now, right? Like, right now isn't the right time to buy it. So I'm going to be disciplined because I know in the future it's going to be the right time. And that's probably the hardest thing ever, is to be disciplined, to make sure you're making wise decisions that set you up for the future, rather than just doing it now because it feels good and it's going to look really good, right?
And think of another way that companies aren't disciplined. Another reason why companies don't succeed and why they fail is because they don't think of all the ways in which their business could fail. And what that means is people start businesses, but they haven't tore it down and destroyed the business or bankrupted it, or think of all the ways in which this thing can't work. And when you think of all the things in which businesses can fail, and then you create strategies around them, it provides a lot more confidence of, hey, if this happens, this is what we're going to do, or this is what we're going to do right now to make sure this doesn't happen. Let's provide an example, right? Okay, you start a business. Let's say you started a yoga studio, and you haven't thought through how you're going to market that yoga studio before you started it. So now you got the keys, everything's there, but no one's showing up. Well, that business is going to fail because you didn't think about, hey, let's create a strategy around the marketing. How are we going to get people in? Because if you just start it and you have the lease and everything looks great, but nobody knows about it, no one's going to come in. Create a strategy around that. Okay, so creating a strategy around scaling. Okay, what are some issues that we're going to run into where me as the owner, I'm going to run out of time? Okay, let's create strategies around that. You're basically tearing down this business, thinking of all the ways it can't work and creating strategies around it. So many business owners are blindsided by random things that happen to their business that they didn't plan for. And they didn't plan for it because they rushed into starting that business. Don't rush into starting your business. Plan ahead. plan for those setbacks and create strategies to make those setbacks improvements in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another one that we see quite often is companies are just, quite frankly, disorganized. They don't have their processes in order. They miss payments. They, can't get back to a client in a timely manner. All of these things completely can tear down your company. And it's sad, but you kind of do it to yourself, right? Like if you can't set up processes where you are responding to emails in a timely manner, maybe you need to get a VA, virtual assistant, who can help out. Maybe you just need to get a part-time person who can just answer calls. We do a lot of cold calls, and sometimes when the voicemail goes through and it says the mailbox is full, we always say, oh, well, they're missing sales. Like they don't know that their voicemail box is full, so they can't get new clients. So a major thing is when you start a business, you have to be organized. You have to stay on top of everything, because if you don't, you're literally letting money walk out the door.
If you don't do what you say you're going to do, then that's going to put you out of business faster than anything else. Not showing up as a contractor to jobs on time, not getting them done on time, and that's just not knowing your calendar, not knowing how long things take, not being able to pick up those phone calls, and not being organized and making sure your accounts receivables are being called on. Looking at your money every day, knowing where your cash is. Those things, the organized person in business will win.
Absolutely.
Okay, so another reason why business owners fail and they go out of business is because of burnout. And burnout is really a result of you not scaling your business. That means you as a business owner are doing everything. You're doing the accounting, you're doing the actual work, you're doing the sales, and you're just running around working 12 hours a day. And what happens is you're working all the time, and then one day you throw your hands up and you say, why am I doing this? Why am I running this business and running myself into the ground? And I could be making more money working for somebody else. Well, the reason that you're saying that is because you didn't figure out a way to scale your business. And what that means is you have to add people to your business. A business is people in a company. And if you don't start adding people, which adds time, then you're going to be burned out because you're going to be doing everything yourself. When you add people to your business, it multiplies your business. Now, a lot of people try it a couple times, they hire somebody, they fire somebody, and then they give up because they're like, oh, nobody wants to work hard, nobody wants to do this. You got to find a way to succeed. And you got to find a way to scale your business, because if you don't scale your business after 30 years, you can't sell your business because you have no value in it. So to be able to add value in a business, which makes it sellable, is people in a company in which you as the owner can remove yourself. You can go on vacation for 2 weeks at a time and your business still makes money. Instead of you working in your business, you get to have your business work for you. You get to work on your business. So many business owners are stuck at them doing everything, and they refuse to expand because it forces them to invest money back into another person, and then they get burned by somebody and they have to fire them, and they say, I never want to do that again. But you have to commit to continuing to do that, because if you fail to scale, then you end up with burnout, and then you'll just quit.
Another thing with people that we always say is, you hire for attitude and you train the skill. I know this isn't, applicable in every single business, but for most of the time, you can hire for attitude and train for skill. If someone does not have the right attitude, if someone does not want to work, they're not willing to learn, they're going to be a terrible employee. If someone is willing to learn and work hard, you can train for anything. And that's the number one thing that we look for when we hire someone.
Yeah, attitude you just can't teach. You can't teach a work ethic. But if somebody's willing to work, they want to work hard, they have the right mentality, they're going to come in every day. And, they may not come from an Ivy League school. They may not have done great in high school GPA. But if that person has a great attitude, you can teach them anything in your business. So look for attitude, and then make sure you're good at training employees. And that goes back to being organized. You need to have organized, and you need to find a way, hey, how can I train people who want to be trained? Not people who are already trained and are comfortable doing it the same way they've always done it. Find a way to fine-tune them towards your company, and you'll find success.